global trade routes are under pressure like never before. From war driven shipping disruptions to rising freight costs to supply delays, businesses are having to rethink logistics in real time. What's the navigation playbook looking like? To understand all of that, I am with a logistics industry player, Mr. Jitendra Srivastava, the CEO of Triton Logistics and Maritime, to understand what the war playbook is looking like. Hi, sir. Thank you for joining me on Beyond today. Firstly, let's talk about geopolitics. Your industry is one such that has been, the hit the most. So, what's been the impact like? It's been nearly 2 months now. Any out of the box strategy that you have come out with?
First of all, thanks Kanishka for inviting me to this show. And it's a very apt and it's a very, I would say, latest subject which is going around. And it's not just hit or disrupted the logistics or the supply chain industry, but it has hit almost every industry you can think of. Uh, it, let's talk about from a very military conflict standpoint. Today, what we are going through, look at this Strait of Hormuz, for example. This has been closed for a while now, and this is creating a massive choke point for the entire global supply. Today, if you look at it, on a normal days or the peace days, there used to be 120 to 140 ships who used to cross that strait. Almost 20 million barrels of oil, which is almost 20-25% of the whole world oil trade which is happening. So this is creating a massive impact on everyone today. Not only that, we also know that there is some charges or some toll which is being, and it's going into the range of almost $2 million per ship, and it's quite huge if you look at it. So this has impacted not only just the movement, but also if you look at it, there is fuel which is going through that strait. There is fertilizers. There are the LPGs, and all this is also creating the rising cost index, or the today we are all feeling the pressure, and it's not just in India; it's everywhere. That even to common man, we are feeling the pressure of this conflict which is going on.
And so, specifically speaking about your industry, how are things, changing? What different kind of rerouting are you doing, or maybe a combination of models, routes that you're, implementing? How is that looking like?
So again, if you look at the situation today, this choke point is causing massive delays. There is the complete rerouting done where the shipments are passing through Africa. Let's say it's a longer route. It creates additional 10 to 20 days of transit time today. It is creating a space crunch because the vessels are now taking longer to reach destination. The fuel cost is increasing. The cost of moving the entire goods are increasing. And then on the congestion side of also look at it, a lot of transshipment hubs like Singapore or even Indian hubs, now they are feeling a massive gridlock or a massive choke point within these transition hubs, which is happening today. So if you look at totally, we are also coming out with some kind of a solution where we are moving the cargo towards a different route. We are trying to move it again. It is a longer transit time. It's a longer cost, a higher cost, which is coming in, and it is also creating a very kind of an inventory shortage or piling up of inventory, which is again increasing the production cost. So we are trying to give alternative solutions. We are trying to give alternative routing to our customers and trying to see how through a multimodal point we can also work out a combination of not just the shipping, but also the trucking and keeping the goods for a while, or even air freighting in some areas. So those are some of the solutions which we are providing to our customers to ease out the current situation which is happening.
Right. So, speaking of alternative routes, you said the time is going up by 15 to 20 days. There's inventory related challenges. So, how do you talk to your clients? How do you make them understand the near term cost structure that changes?
So the major impact which these kind of situations they put on is the working capital problem, which it blocks the working capital from all aspects. Look, from a manufacturer or an exporter point of view, their goods are on the waters for a longer time. This means their inventory cannot be sold. It's still lying in the water. So any additional 10 days or 15 days or 20 days creates a lot of cash blockage for them. For us as a service provider is the similar situation, because we have to pay upfront to the shipping lines, and we have to pay every cost. But it's very difficult for us to collect the same money, or because the shipper is not paying us, they also have to manage their cash situation. So overall, if you look at it, this is one of the cash working capital vicious circle which we have entered into, and this is creating a massive bottleneck uh, throughout, because the cost of the goods, I mean, the shippers, they don't even know what would be the landed cost of their goods, how much freight they are going to pay. Apart from freight, what could be the surcharges which they are going to pay. So it's a lot of uncertainty which is happening around the market. So yes, I mean, we all are going through the same phase, same situation at the moment.
So, like you were saying, it's an intense price war, right? Because you don't know how much and from where the new cost is going to come. So, at this point in time, how at Triton are you looking to, uh, you know, maybe preserve your margins a little bit, or basically avoid that race to the bottom?
I know. See, our margins are anyways been very thin for a very long time, and this situation is further shrinking the margin which we have, and it's a very critical situation for us, because not just that we have to pay. I mean, the working capital and the cost of financing is going higher. It's also that with all the digitization and automation, this becomes so much of a transparency today that you cannot go and really create a very thick margin or a high margin on your goods. So overall, the situation is, I would say, doesn't look very bright or very optimistic from the margins perspective. But yes, I mean, all I can say is that we are trying to just keep our heads above water to make sure that things will keep on moving. Yeah?
Correct. And so, I was just reading, you've always said that supply chains break due to planning gaps before cargo even moves. So, how true does that hold at this point in the war times? And how is your data, helping you intervene before a ship actually hits that congestion spot?
So the planning today, I mean, if you look at, or let's rephrase your question, that during the peacetime, it's everything goes very smooth. I mean, we know that how much is the manufacturer knows how much is the production time. We also know that what is the transit time. We also have all the cutoffs, and we work accordingly on backwards on it to make sure that the goods are moved, reached at the correct timelines or the proper timeline. During this kind of situation, when there is a conflict, and you can every day, I mean, if you look at from the morning, afternoon, and the evening, the war starts, stops, and then starts, and then it stops. So the situation is so that it's completely unpredictable at the moment. We don't the real planning, even if you look at the digitization or the automation part of it, it only works when you have those things very streamlined. Today the unpredictability is so high that it's very difficult for us to first of all to tell the shippers that what could be the pickup timeline. We do not have a space confirmation from the carriers. There are rollovers happening, and this rollover is not just about a week. It can be also about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. This means there is an inventory pileup which is happening. We do not have enough space to keep that, even if the containers are completely loaded and moved to the port. There is a situation where the ports are congested. You cannot get the containers gated in. You do not have a space on the vessels which can it move. The goods have to reach at the destination for a let's say in a particular time. The transit times are completely haywire today. Again, I said that if what kind of route it will take you. So the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, all those have already been not used by most of the major carriers. Now with the straits also getting blocked, and you have to reroute it through different areas and different channels. So it's highly unpredictable at the moment. It is creating a lot of pressure on us as a logistics provider also to reach out and give a very strong solution to the customers or to the shippers. We cannot commit a long time kind of a contract or a commitment where we can go and say that we can keep your goods moving for a period of time. We don't know, it's changing every day. So those are very practical constraints or a situation which is not being faced only by us, but the entire supply chain of all the industry which you can think of.
They were talking about, how everything is very uncertain. At the same time, you also operate in very sensitive verticals, right? Um, automotive supply chains to transitioning to EVs. Then there's specialty textile chemicals that have zero tolerance policy for customs or regulatory compliance, right? So a very difficult situation here. How are you moving your SOPs? How are you changing them so that all of these compliance issues are intact? I mean, the regulation is intact without, further disrupting the supply chain.
Quite interesting. So every industry has got different requirements, and every goods are moved in a different way. So it's not just about moving a good from a point A to point B, which we call it. And in today's scenario, it even becomes more important for us to understand. You spoke about EVs, for example. Uh, the major component in the EV is the battery, and that constitutes the most critical element into the entire supply chain. Now, these EVs they come under a very strong the hazardous material category. So this means that it falls under the class 9, which is very critical. Most of the carriers they move it through under the UN 38.3 clause, and because it's highly combustible, it's highly inflammable. So this means they have to maintain all the SOPs when they are moving these kind of product into their let's say carrier. Yeah? Apart from that, they require a certain temperature control environment where you want to keep those batteries, for their life. And this is very critical because these kind of ambient temperatures is important for all those lithium ion batteries which are involved into this. And the third and the most important thing is that the cells are damaged by the vibrations. So this means the entire packaging has to be done in such a way that there are damping materials used so that it can withstand all the vibrations which may incur. Now, this is a very global way of moving these goods. And when you talk about India and you handling these things, there are certain complexities or certain challenges which you face. Look at the temperature of our country. It can, I mean, today or these days, it can even touch 45 degrees. Yeah? So this means we have to be very cautious about how we are moving it, whether we are moving it to a temperature controlled vehicle or we are doing the night operations only for them. Secondly, we need to have our workforce who understands how this hazardous material has to be handled and how it is to be moved. And the most important, I mean, our roads, I can understand the highways are getting very smooth and everything, but you go to tier 2, tier 3 cities, the roads, the conditions, the potholes, and so you have to make sure that there is no vibration so that the cells do not get damaged. So when it comes to the industry perspective, these are some of the things which we take care of. We make sure that we understand the product when we move it. So EV is one of them. When it comes to the auto components which you spoke about, now auto components is something which is if you look at the global model, they are using a lot of AI predictability into their automotive corridors because automotive works on a very just-in-time inventory kind of a concept. So they keep a very thin inventory. Traditionally, it is kept as a very thin industry, thin inventory model. Yeah? But globally, they use those AI integrated platforms where they can uh, bypass all those border issues or the border delays, and they can keep moving the goods and keep supplying it to the production line. Uh, and then they also, because the cost is rising pretty high, and today the entire automotive industry is being hit by the very thin margin, as we were discussing about. So they try to keep those multimodal kind of solutions which they keep on giving to the customers, to keep that constant in mind. Now, in this area, India has really been investing a lot to make sure that we create that kind of an infrastructure. And if you look at in this union budget, we have those PM Gati Shakti program or dedicated freight corridors which is coming up, or this the ULIP, which is the Unified Logistics Interface platform. Now, all these things have really helped the India freight cost to reduce to 7.97% of the GDP, which used to be like 13 to 14% at one point of time. So it is making those corridors or the automotive components movement quite viable at the moment. So I think these are the areas where India is really doing well. And I think the government is really taking those initiatives to make sure that these things are taken into account, taken into control. We have also come out with some of the infrastructure where the suppliers are located, or it's like a cluster kind of a situation where the MSME suppliers of this automotive components are placed close to the big automotive hubs like Chennai or Pune or Sanand. So that the movement of they create a buffer warehouse so that the longer or the transit times can be cut down, and it can be supplied quickly. So I think these are the important things. And the third thing which you mentioned about those specialty chemicals, now the specialty chemical logistics is a very niche area, and it is focused on safe to move into a very safe, very compliant, and a very temperature controlled movement. And because these are very low volume but a very high value export, the chemical exports which are happening. And this is the area where there's a lot of I would say the specialized warehouse, the bulk liquids or ISO tanks are being used today. And this is where a lot of investments are being done to make sure that these specialty chemicals are moved in a completely focused way, somebody who can understand the hazardous requirement.
Uh, we have spoken about the challenges because of the war, the initiatives that are underway in India to help the industry. But now, in this time, there's maritime conflict, there's rupee depreciation, then there is rerouting of cargo. And at the same time, you have a very aggressive target of becoming a 500 crore plus company. Do you still retain that? And if so, what's that one operational bet that you're making to reach that target?
Well, logistics is a very uncertain industry, I can tell you, and I think uh, that's one area where I always feel all my years in this industry is that it's full of challenges, it's full of uncertainties. There is no tool which can predict. I mean, apart from all the automation and digitization done, there is no predictive tool which can tell us that how the logistics landscape will look like in the near future. We have been seeing disruptions too many and too quickly. We saw that COVID happening, we saw that Russia-Ukraine war happening, and then now we saw that the Red Sea conflict which started, and now we are sitting into complete Gulf war which is happening today. So yes, as an organization, I think instead of focusing on, as you said, the top line or the margins and those kind of things, I believe those are the byproducts of what you are doing or how closely connected with your business or with your customers you are. And that is where, as Triton, we are uh, trying to understand the pain areas of the customers, trying to understand that what is really required for them to give them an operational confidence that yes, we know, we do understand their problems, and we can give a solution around it. And that's a very invisible kind of area where we try to give them a full visibility, a full adaptability, and at the same time work out a lot of sectoral solutions. As we talk about industry, we also talk about the regions, that every region is different, in which area the movements are happening, its region. So United States will be very different from Africa, Africa will be very different from China. So we try to make it more customized to their product, to their region where their customers are. And also, one of the core emphasis for us as a Triton, when you are discussing about my strategy or how I look at it, is also about that how I'm looking at my global partnerships and how I'm looking at my the my the outreach to those the organizations who work with us, who support us, and they are not just kind of a logo which is sitting there, or not just like a network membership, but how I look at them is our operational intelligence on the ground, and so we build up a very strong relationship with them. We work very closely, They become like our eyes and ears on the ground there, and through them we are trying to give that kind of a confidence to our customers, to our shippers, or to the importers that, look, we know, we understand your business. We are there to see quickly and turn around any disruption before it becomes a damage. So that is something which is underlining. So yes, if we are able to connect to our customers, if we are able to give them the right customer service, if we are able to give them the right confidence about our operations, I'm sure those the top lines and the margins will come automatically. So I look at from that point of view. Yes, so yes, we are working towards it.
Right. So thank you so much for joining me on WION today and sharing all of those insights.
Thank you so much, Kanishka. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So, as geopolitical risks reshape global trade, the logistics industry is entering a new era where speed alone may not be enough. More predictable supply chains could hold the real edge. That was Mr. Jitendra Srivastava of Triton Logistics and Maritime on WION's Big Business Bet.